Nathan Drake's final adventure? Was it worth it? Was the game all that and then some? Well, I'm going to give you a real in-depth review, breakdown of story, gameplay, and graphics and presentation. So sit back and enjoy this in-depth review of Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
I'm coming. I gotta keep coming, right?
Wow. 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 Oh my God. This is big. This is so amazing. Oh my God. This kid. Oh my God. Mike. I'm gonna tell you why Uncharted 4 Thief's End story is better than Uncharted Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2 Honor Among Thieves, and Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. To me, this story just doesn't deal with just treasure. It just doesn't deal, with just treasure. It deals with a variety of things and a multitude of stories going on, which is really, really good, and it's balanced and paced beautifully. And I love the fact that they took Nathan Drake's and made him more humanized than ever. And they went into his normal life, which in a game could be dangerous because that can be boring to other gamers. But Naughty Dog found a way to make the mundane of you just talking to your wife fun. They made it fun, and they made me want to know, man, I want to know what goes on with Nathan Drake's normal life. And I love the fact that they put you in a situation of how Nathan has put his treasure hunting adrenaline rush, days behind him. Like, he put that behind him. He settled down. He's a husband now. He has Elena. They are basically, like Chapter 4 says, living a normal life. And Naughty Dog still hints that Nathan Drake he still misses the treasure hunting days. He still wants that a little bit, but he understands that he has responsibilities now with his wife. And I love the fact that the story took the brother approach, because he wasn't in the first game or the second game or the third game. And they built up the story beautifully and it sits well with me because I have a brother. And so I was already intrigued by this because his brother was absent for the first 3 games. and in total 15 years out of his life that he thought he was dead. And I love the fact that Naughty Dog took the time to build this relationship so you can see why him and his brother were so close, why they were in this life that they were in the first place. And I love the fact that Naughty Dog made Nathan Drake seem so humanized by making him a casual gamer as well. I like the fact that he wanted to challenge Elena to Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, I sucked ass when I first played. That was my first playthrough of Crash Bandicoot. That's why you saw me with such a low score right there. But I like that, man. They made something like that one of the best Easter eggs to me in gaming. For me, so I really enjoyed that part of the game, him just sitting down, and I love the fact that you get to explore the whole house. So much attention to detail in that whole sequence. I love that. So much nostalgia that they threw at you in Chapter 4, which was just paying tribute to the first three games, because Uncharted 1 to me is my most beloved one because of what the precedent that it set for the other three that came after it, with Uncharted 2. Uncharted 3 and now Uncharted 4. And the storytelling is so much better in this one because of all those multitude of aspects going into it, with Nathan Drake trying to save his brother. Is it just saving his brother, or does Nathan still have the rush of going after the treasure, and saving his brother is part of it as well? And I like the fact that Sully questioned him about it, and it was beautifully written and beautifully acted. And I don't understand why people say graphics don't matter. Because it does matter. When you're paying $400 for a system, and whatever the Xbox is $350 or whatnot, if you're paying that much money for a system, graphics do matter. Because technology gets better. This is not the 8-bit days, it's not cartridge days anymore. It's not that. You're in an age where graphics should look better. Now, I'm not saying every game has to look, so demandingly real. But if I'm paying $60, I want everything. I want quality, I want great storytelling, I want gameplay, I want the graphics to be on point. Especially when we have to pay for DLC for some extra stuff that we should just be that should be a part of the game for beating it. So I want everything. I don't want a certain aspect of it missing. And this is the best looking game. I played The Order. The Order looked amazing when it was out. It was the best looking game when it was out that time. I didn't think Uncharted would look as good as it did, or even look, maybe come close just a bit to The Order, but I didn't think it was going to look that much better than The Order. And it did. The game looks phenomenal. The facial animation, the subtleties when they're not even saying anything, when there's no dialogue. Like, one of my favorite parts in the game is after that epic chase sequence that I'll talk to later in this video about, is when Nathan comes and he sees his wife there, and he has that look on his face like, oh crap, she knows. And I got a lot of explaining to do, as you would as if that was your wife in that situation. And I love that. Like, and even when she, I had the tears coming down, or when he asked her, a certain question and he couldn't even answer it. He was just stuck. Pause. That's why, graphics and presentation and all this stuff is important in resolution, because we're at this point where technology, we can see these things. And once again, Naughty Dog sets a high quality of standard that other developers are going to have to take a look at. It might be Uncharted 2 all over again, where a lot of games might try to replicate that type of cinematic experience and try to give it to us gamers. And the seamless transition from graphics to gameplay, nothing comes close. I just think there's nothing that's going to come close to it, because Naughty Dog knows what they're doing. I'm not saying other developers don't, but they really know how to get the tech side of the PS4 to, run games like this on a different level than a lot of people. It's just the facts. They have a reputation. Like, certain sequences in this game just look photorealistic. Like the cave, my goodness, like that chapter 13, Marooned. Like when he's wet, and I made a video about how things look better when you're wet in a darker environment, and you've seen it. The cave almost looks they look like they took a 1080p Google image and slapped it onto the game, and you're just running around in it. Just like this chapter right here, I believe, 17 or 18, New Devon, just looks so freaking real, like photorealistic, dangerously looking real. That's why graphics are important, to immerse you in the world. And what puts the icing on the cake with the graphics and the story is great gameplay mechanics. And this is another part where Uncharted 4 separates itself from the other three franchises, where it took mechanics that were so great about The Last of Us and makes it better and makes it still feel like an Uncharted game, but with just tweaks. It's still similar to, us Uncharted hardcore players, but with little nuances that add such a satisfying feel. Like, it's not on a Metal Gear Solid type stealth mode. The stealth mode is like, it's not on that type range, but the option to have it to, go into your battles with a different mindset, a different encounter of how you're going to go about, taking out your enemies. It's just amazing. Like you can see right here, I love taking out enemies stealthily to see if I can conserve a lot of ammo that way. And it felt so satisfying going up to an enemy and taking them out. The gameplay is redefined. Another thing that I thought they took from The Last of Us, which they redefined and even made it better, is the NPCs. Going both ways, your companion and the enemy. I love the enemy in this game, how they're so aggressive. On crushing, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but I like a challenge. That's why I like it. But I love the fact that the enemies flank you. They move around. They don't just sit there and shoot while you can just sit in the cover like in the previous games. You can literally just camp there sometimes and they won't do anything. They'll just throw a grenade and that's the best way they can get you out. Not only are they throwing grenades, they're running at you. You got certain enemies that would just run up on you and try to fire at you with their weapon. And the physics are so good in this game that they'll fall forward if they're getting shot, not just shot and they just randomly just fall because of animation. It's because of how technically advanced Naughty Dog is with the physics in this game, and the physics in this game is crazy. And like, I remember Angry Joe saying it, wouldn't you rather be playing a chase scene than watching one like Quantum Break did? Like, this is why Naughty Dog is on another level with their games. And I'm not saying Remedy isn't good, because that's a pretty good developer. They make pretty good games, but it's just on another level. I mean, the set pieces we have to talk about, because I have to set the record straight. They're the best set pieces out of any Uncharted game for me, because it's on an epic scale. Now, I'm not saying the train wasn't on an epic scale or the airplane, but I like the fact that it felt more dangerous in this game. It felt more like, oh man, sometimes I don't even have to shoot. I just want to stay alive. And sometimes you can mistaken it, think it's a cutscene, but when you're giving complete control like this, I literally almost did not throw my rope out because I thought it was a cutscene. That almost got me killed. And that's the type of adrenaline rush that I love in Uncharted. It's quick pace, amazing set pieces for the type of game that it is. It's 100 miles an hour, and it puts you in set pieces that goes 100 miles an hour. That's why they're short-lived, but they're great, and you want to replay them because they're so memorable. That's why I think this game is so great at doing, and they're far in between, so it's a great change of pace when you get them and you get so surprised by them. And that's another thing I think this game does really well, is change of pace. change of pace in this game is brilliantly done, and it works in the story. It works in the combat. It works in the gameplay. It's just really well done. I love the puzzles too in this game. Some of the puzzles did have me like stumped, especially the one in the cave when you had to do the wheel thing. That had me stuck for a little bit, probably at the most 20 minutes to 25 minutes, just to make sure I got the angles and the wheels right with the cross and which side they're supposed to go on. The puzzles was really well done in this game, and I really loved the change of pace in this game with the puzzles. Uncharted 4 to me, is just, it's what a game and a masterpiece is like. And what's funny about Uncharted 4, and I heard some criticism about it, is that somebody said, and that it reminds them of The Order, but with more gameplay. Yes, you did not hear me wrong. Yeah, I heard this individual say it reminds him of The Order, but with more gameplay, and he was saying it as a critique. And that's not a critique, because in the end, that's what you want. And if you want to get technical about it, as far as a critique, you're misspreading information, because cutscenes alone, 4 hours. Gameplay, if you're the guy who loves to do stealth like I do, and like getting in different chaotic situations, treasure exploring the world, especially Madagascar, which that chapter almost took me an hour and 30 something minutes, just because I wanted to see the whole landscape, how big that chapter was. Even chapter 8 and 9 took me almost an hour, just because I was doing so much exploring in Scotland and just taking in the scenery, just looking for treasures on my first run to see if how many treasures I could get on my first run. To me, I don't know how that even comes close to The Order, when The Order what gives you 4 to 5 hours, and a chunk of it is a lot of cutscenes. And with Uncharted, with the cutscenes is 4 hours, like I said, but with the gameplay, you could almost get like 14 to 15 hours alone, almost 16 with the gameplay, if you're playing it on a harder difficulty. So it's really, that ratio doesn't even come close to make that comparison, because it falls flat on your face if you're saying that, because it makes no sense. And the reason I think this game is a masterpiece, and the reason I think it's a 10 out of 10, because it hits all 3 home runs on gameplay. And this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. There's usually stuff like this in gaming as a cutscene, but with Naughty Dog and the Uncharted series, you're playing it. I mean, just like I said, look at the physics of this. You're playing this. Wouldn't you rather be playing a chase scene than watching one? Like I said with Quantum Break. And before an Xbot comes in the comment section, don't say a Tomb Raider is an exclusive, because it's not. It's on the PC. It will be on the PS4. So it's not. Don't even try to make that comparison. Uncharted 4 won't ever be on the Xbox One or PC. So please don't run in the comment section and say that. But my final conclusion to this video as we come to an end is, this is the greatest game I ever played, the most satisfying, the most thrilling, adrenaline rush, and one of the best stories I ever played for an action adventure, if not the best for an action adventure game. And that's why my final verdict for this game is a 10 out of 10. And this is a real review. This is not some review done within 4 or 5 minutes. That's why I had to go in depth. I had to make it long so you can understand, so you can see what I see, and so I can explain it to you in a well-educated manner. Because sitting in front of a screen that has nothing to do with the game you're talking about is a slap in the face to your subscribers, to the gamers, and it shows how ignorant you are, because you're not taking the time out to analyze the game just basing off of watching people play. You have to play it for yourself and experience it. This game is a masterpiece. It's the greatest game I ever played, and in my opinion, it's the greatest game ever made, because it does everything that it's supposed to. Story, gameplay, and graphics. You got everything that you needed to get. And I will do an in-depth of all the Uncharted games, including with The Last of Us, analysis for y'all. So stay tuned for that. 10 out of 10 Uncharted.
プレイステーション